And good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn. He is Griffin. We are here. A lot to do on a Friday. In just a second, we're going to head down to Sarasota. That's where our friend Stan the Fan Charles is. Made his annual pilgrimage down for Orioles Spring Training. Really for the hot dogs. He's made that abundantly clear. Every year he's gone down. That's the only reason he actually cares about going to spring training is he wants his first hot dog of the season. So we'll break down how that first hot dog went. Also this morning we're going to talk some Orioles with Tim Kurkjian from ESPN. Randy Mueller, former NFL GM, now at The Athletic. He wrote recently about the Ravens' many free agents and how decimated they could be via free agency. We will check in with our friend Randy Mueller, and we'll talk to Corey Bullock, the former Terps offensive lineman, as he begins to prepare for the NFL draft. So all of that coming up today on GCR. But as I said, we begin. Sorry we couldn't get him on video. We'll try to make that work at some point next week when Luke gets down there to help him out. But Stan the Fan Charles with us from Parts Unknown. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good, Glenn. How you doing? I'm over at Nathan Benderman Park getting ready to do my morning walk.
Ooh, where is Nathan Benderman Park in Sarasota?
It's right by an area called the UTC. It's an amazing thing here that they've created. They found that they had this unique body of water here. I forgot the details of it, but they turned this area. It's around a shopping area, but there's this huge body of water in here, and we walk around the water. And what that body of water is, it's become kind of like an international destination for cruise training for rowing.
Oh, wow.
And they have all kinds of meets here and everything, but all the colleges come down here to practice for crewing.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, it is very, very cool.
When'd you get in, Stan?
I got in Tuesday afternoon and saw a little bit of a rain-drenched game Wednesday night, and there was no game yesterday, and now I'll see about 9 games over the next 10 or 11 days.
All right, let's cover a few things. First of all, Stan's Magical Mystery Tour of Sarasota is brought to us by who?
By our friends at the new Atman's down
Atman's
at
Deli.
Point.
Oh, if you are craving that New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and they have something a little bit different at this location.
A bar.
That's correct.
A bar.
Atman's Harbor Point. Go to atmansdeli.com for daily specials. So, obviously you and I have been talking a lot about the Orioles. This week, there's something that's kind of come clear for me, is that the subplot of what's going on with the Orioles is not really being discussed as much because, as I wrote, it's not a problem. You can say it's a good problem, but it's not even a problem. But the old guard versus new guard thing is really fascinating to me, as everybody is excited about what Colton Cowser is doing in the spring and what could be coming with Kobe Mayo. It's a reminder of how many of these players are up to free agency in the next 2 years and how at this point we're kind of operating on the assumption that none of them are going to be around. And I do start to ask myself out loud if the time for making some sort of move isn't now. And I brought it up with Luke yesterday. I'm not suggesting that the Orioles should trade Austin Hayes, but if you need somewhere for someone to play, if Austin Hayes isn't going to be a long-term part of the picture, if he could help you land a bullpen arm of some sort, is it something that you at least think about before the season begins?
I think they're pretty excited about what they have on hand here. And I have to admit, I did not see Albert Suarez's performance the other day. And when you look him up on Baseball Reference, you see that he hasn't played in the major leagues or the minor leagues, I don't believe, since 2018. Now, that could mean he's been in Mexico or Korea or something, but those usually show up on your Baseball Reference page. But the other day he struck out, 7 batters in 3 innings?
Mm-hmm.
So an outstanding performance by somebody who's 34 years of age. And Julio Teheran has so far started 2 games, thrown 3 innings, a shutout ball. And I did see the first one on television. Not a lot of hard contact. And I saw the second one Wednesday night against the Pirates, and he pitched 2 shutout innings, and I didn't see a ball hit hard off of him. So I think that they feel that they're reasonably comfortable with what they have right now, and still enough uncertainty as to what Cowser, Kerstad, or even a revived Kyle Stowers could do compared to old reliables, so to speak, like Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, and Anthony Santander. Complicated a little bit, Glenn, by this injury that Mullins suffered.
And right,
I'll
and
find out
he said he's okay, right, and that he's not really going to miss any time. Yes, and this is where we go back to, like, I won't call it a problem because, Stan, to your point, like, there could be another injury. Even if Cedric Mullins is fine, there could be another injury. And depth, like, the Los Angeles Dodgers have 30 major league players. Like, they're other
but apparently they created their roster around Gavin Lux playing shortstop.
Right,
and
that is
I think
true.
they're coming to the realization that he can't play shortstop, which I could have told them last year.
That is true.
But they didn't find that out last year because of his injury the first day or 2 of spring training last year.
But the greater point, obviously, there have been plenty of teams that have had more everyday major league players on the roster than they have positions to play them, and they've figured it out. Like, somebody might be unhappy in the process, but if you're winning, that's going to certainly limit how unhappy they are. This is not to say they have to do something would be incorrect. They don't have to do something. They can say, we're going to have a bunch of major league players, and we'll figure out who plays and who's the hot hand and who has the best matchup against which pitcher, and it's going to be a good thing for this team to have this many qualified major league bats.
Yep.
So, with that in mind, who are you most interested in still seeing over the course of next? Like, who is it that you want to get your eyes on specifically as we stay on the position player side of things?
Well, I think, I've looked at the roster this morning, knowing I was coming along with you, and obviously Mountcastle and O'Hearn, Westberg and Henderson, Rutschman, McCann, Hayes, Mullins, Santander. I think it's safe to say that Cowser has pretty much made the team unless something really disastrous happened injury-wise or he goes 0 for the next 24. Mateo, I with good reason, in my opinion, to me, makes the team. That leaves, position-wise, it leaves a bit of a battle between Kyle Stowers and Ryan McKenna. And I guess you throw Kerstad in there, but I don't really see them having 2 of their top prospects, Cowser and Kerstad, making the major league roster this year without significant playing time. Sitting one of them or both of them an awful lot wouldn't make much sense. And then it all pivots around, to me, whether Jackson Holliday is going to make this team or not. And you hear a whole wide variety of opinion when you talk to fellow media people and everything. And I think it's yet to be determined. And I think that battle could come down to Holliday, Urias, or Colton Wong, or Glenn, perhaps neither Stowers or McKenna makes the team. Perhaps Holliday and Wong make the team as a coupling, or Wong or Holliday and Urias make the team. Because I wrote the first column I wrote
about
for PressBoxOnline.com was about 9 decisions that are harder than they've had, in recent vintage. And that's what happens when a team gets good. But the Orioles have 9 players out of options, and a few of them are battling for positions right now.
So Stan, it brings us up, and again, you can read it at PressBoxOnline.com. The 4 pitchers that are on the list all seem obvious they're going to be on the team: Baumann, Irvin, Perez, and Webb. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a
I don't know about. I think Bauman, it's safe to say, is going to make the team. I don't know about Webb with the way that Suarez and Tehran. I have Tehran making this team.
okay.
I think they are intrigued by what he's going to bring, and I think that Suarez has really pitched his way in. When you got a guy that strikes out 7 batters in 3 innings. And again, I don't have the exact roster he pitched against, but I'm going to assume a couple of them by the time of the game he was pitching. I don't think it was late in the game.
No, he started that game.
He's intriguing. He's intriguing. So
I agree that he's intriguing. I think it's a tough thing to do to let someone else go. And it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. As you point out, the position players, we're all working under the assumption that Jorge Mateo has a spot. Like they love Jorge Mateo. He's going to be on the team. I think it's pretty fair to say that there's no spot for Tyler Nevin. Like, there's just no path whatsoever for him to have a chance.
And Glenn, it's a shame because Tyler Nevin, if we were 3 years down the road and 2 new teams were in baseball and you had 32 teams, he's a major league player,
Sure.
Tyler Nevin.
Sure.
Right now he's a 4A player, and he's a nice piece of depth, but at 25 or 26 years old, you'd like to see him be able to get the requisite playing time to earn a real living.
I feel like the difficulty in talking about the others, Stan, is that I think I'll give the perspective of an Orioles fan. I'll be Glenn the fan for a second.
Yeah.
I feel like an Orioles fan would say, whatever your decision is on Ryan McKenna and Ramon Arias, it should not be made based on the fact that they're out of options, right? That, like, if you ultimately lose one of those guys, and I think most people – maybe there's a team that would be desirous of Ryan McKenna. My gut would tell me that Ryan McKenna would be right back in Norfolk a week later just because there isn't another major league job to be had for him, and there would be no problem there.
Every team has a Ryan McKenna.
Right. Ramon Arias, I think, would be more difficult. I do think Ramon Arias would find work elsewhere if you optioned him. But I feel like a fan would say, don't make your decision based on that. Like, that shouldn't – what they would fear is you're not really going to put Ramon Arias on the major league team and have Jackson Holliday start in AAA because of that, right? Like, that can't be the reason why you make that decision.
No, that decision basically is yet to be made because they want to see what Jackson Holliday does against more and more major league pitching. He did only get 110 at bats last year at AAA, and it wasn't like he hit 400 at AAA and 110 at bats. I think he was like 260, something like that, 270, and he didn't overwhelm in the playoffs at AAA either. But it's all going to hinge on whether they want him to make the team. I'm sure you've read this, but I didn't initially get the connection. But Mike Elias, the first team he ever worked for in player development was the St. Louis Cardinals before he went to the Astros. And he's rubbed elbows with Matt Holliday for a long time, and he's also rubbed elbows with Colton Wong. And I'm not so sure that the idea of bringing Wong in wasn't brought to his attention by Matt Holliday as, hey, you want to move my kid to second base? We're cool with that for now, but let's get him a real mentor that can teach him the intricacies of playing second base. And maybe he'll make the team too. So Colton Wong, a 2-time Gold Glover, was a teammate of Matt Holliday's around 2013 to 16 with the Cardinals. So there's a connection there, and he's known Matt Holliday since he's known Jackson Holliday since Jackson was like about 9 or 10 years old and was at the park every day. So there's a connection there, and it may inure to their benefit if all things are equal that Wong and Holliday make the team together.
Stan the Fan Charles is on his magical mystery tour of Florida right now. He's with us on GCR. He's brought to you by the new Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. I tell you what's really interesting to me, Stan, and it's in everyone, like, all of the national, the MLB Network, the Athletic, everybody sent their folks at some point through Sarasota on their own spring training tours. And every time one of these guys has written about Jackson Holliday, there's been ample opportunity for Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde to cool the temperature on Jackson Holliday. They've had many chances on many platforms to say, look, we don't want to get too carried away, anything along those lines. And they've never really done that. Like, almost every time, they've almost fueled the expectations surrounding Jackson Holliday, which, to your point, it doesn't guarantee that he's on the roster on opening day, but it would seem interesting to me that they wouldn't take the chance to say, hey, let's settle down a little bit about this guy. You know, he's not even 21 years old yet. He's played less than a half of a season between AA and AAA. They don't bring those things up at all. They only talk glowingly about what this young man is capable of doing.
Yeah, well, again, remember they have a new incentive that if they bring somebody like him north and they're able to win the Rookie of the Year or finish second in the Rookie of the Year, the Orioles would get a secondary sandwich pick. So compensating the club for having advanced a young player rather than holding back. So that's part of it. But they're going to let the determination be made by how well he plays, and they've thrown him into some deep water. And I wouldn't say he's excelled, meaning like he's made the team 10 days into the exhibition season. But I don't think he's sunk either. I think he's right there. He had 3 hits the other day on Tuesday against the Phillies. I did not see that game, but that was his best game of the spring. He did not play Wednesday. I'm sure he'll be in the lineup tonight for the Orioles.
Obviously, Grayson's going to go tonight. We don't know. They're playing 3 more games this weekend because they're playing 2 on Sunday against the Blue Jays. Of the 5 starters that we all think are set for this team right now, I think that Cole Irvin is the most interesting of them just because there's been so much made, and we had the chance to talk to him about everything he's done to sort of change his arsenal. I know you like Cole.
Is he okay? By the way, is Cole okay to talk to me?
Yes. No. He'll be good. He'll be happy to see you. I really like Cole. Cole Irvin's a great guy, and I know you know that.
Good guy. He's a good dude.
I also know how much you like Cole Irvin, right? Like, how interested are you in the changes he's made to his repertoire and how it might impact his ability to actually stick it out this year in the rotation?
You know, the first thing that you see when you see Cole in person now is he's a guy, Glenn, who is a big guy.
He lost some weight
like
though.
Yeah, but he looks like he trimmed down.
Yep.
He did not look heavy last year, but he's trimmed down a little bit more, and he's picked up his velocity. Like 1.6, 1.8 miles per hour, and it's been impressive. I'm looking forward to seeing him live myself over the next couple of days.
Anybody else as far as the pitchers go? You obviously mentioned Suarez, you mentioned Tehran. Anybody else in particular that you want to get your eyes on?
Well, they've got 2 Suarezes. They've got an Andrew Suarez and an Albert Suarez, and I didn't even know they were in camp until I saw that box score the other day when both of them pitched. Again, Albert's the 34-year-old, and the other one's I think 29 years old. I'm anxious to see them. I'm anxious to see Tyler Wells. And I'm anxious to see Tehran again, to see if he, in fact, keeps up this little bit of mojo he's got where there's not hard contact against him. And while I'm not panicked at all by Craig Kimbrell having allowed, 4 or 5 runs in an inning, I see that a lot in box scores right now. A lot of times managers will leave a guy in as long as the pitch count doesn't get totally nuts. They'll leave them in a little longer because it's really about getting the work in and building up their ability to throw.
Of course, the most important question, obviously, Stan the Fan, have you had your first hot dog of spring training yet?
No, I have not had my first hot dog.
Oh, my word.
I'm going to save that. I'm on a health kick. And by the way, I left out the biggest pitcher I was curious about seeing, and I saw him for 1 inning on Wednesday, which was Dylan Tate. He looked really good. Really, really good.
So wait, hang on a second. This is important. You're not going to eat a hot dog at all?
No, I'll eat a hot dog.
All right.
I'll eat a hot dog.
I was going to say.
I'm just being a little bit careful.
Well, I understand that, but I don't know what even the point is of going to Florida if you're not going to have a hot dog.
Yeah, well, I can eat hot dogs in Baltimore too.
All right.
But there's going to be a ceremony when I eat my first one.
Yes, it's a moment. We release the doves. It's the whole thing.
Light a few candles.
Yeah, right. It is.
You know,
it is important.
If Atman's was down here, if they had a new Atman's here, I would have had my first hot dog.
No question about that. No question.
No question.
All right, Stan will be chiming in at PressBoxOnline.com, and Luke's going to be joining them. They'll be doing some video content as well, and we'll be checking in with them throughout the course of the week over the next week. Again, all brought to you by yeah.
We did a little something different last night with Eric and I. I had Eric, who has the benefit of being out of Twin Lakes just about every day, take us through what that is like. You know, in other words, how the club organizes things out there, what they try and accomplish, how they break down which players are with which squad and all that. It was pretty interesting. It was a little bit different behind-the-scenes look at how the Orioles minor league camp work, and we did that last night for about a half hour.
All right. You can go check that out right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab, or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and PressBoxOnline.com/video. Will you be doing the Monday show?
Yep, we intend to do it.
Very
Luke will
good.
still be in Baltimore, and Ross will be down here, and we'll get it done. We'll get her done.
Excellent.
Anything new up there with the Ravens? Anything exciting?
Nothing yet.
going on
Nobody's
there?
been restructured. Nobody's been released. We're all kind of just waiting to see when those moves might start coming in, because the Ravens have to get about $9 million in order to get under the cap before the start of the new year. So something's got to give.
They don't have to pay you or I a cent.
Not one penny. Although if they wanted to. I want to make that abundantly clear. I'm not going to say no. Not going to say no.
All right,
Stan, appreciate
all
you,
right.
sir. We'll talk next week, all right?
Yep, that sounds good.
Enjoy
Have a
it.
great weekend.
Yep, you got it. You
Rip.
too.
Bye.
Stan the Fan Charles down there in Sarasota at spring training. We used to do the show from down in Sarasota, and I enjoyed it. It's tough for me now with my play-by-play schedule. Like, I was supposed to have 4 games this week. Unfortunately, I have to miss one because I have to do I have to go to a funeral this weekend. But it's difficult now for me to take the time away to go do the shows on location because of all the play-by-play that I do. I would say the other part of it's the nice thing about going. I never went to Florida as a kid. Like, it never was something that, like, my family said, "Hey, let's go down and watch the Orioles for a week." And when I first lived in Arizona in 2006 and got to experience it, I was in love. Like, I was like, this is amazing. You're going to minor league stadiums but watching major league players. Like, it must have been the Angels, Diablo Park in Tempe.
Diablo Park.
And it was, we had, I don't know why, but we had like 4th row. The Cactus League got out of control. Like, the ticket prices got nuts. I don't know how I'd feel about it if I went now, but at the time, you can get a $20 ticket and go watch Vladimir Guerrero right in front of you, like right there, not in the upper deck, right there. Sit in the 4th row and watch Vladimir Guerrero. It was amazing. I was in love. We started doing weekends on Sporting News Radio. I don't know what they go by now. It's a network.
SNR.
I think they became something else, Yahoo or I don't know. But we were doing weekends nationally, and they were like, hey, because you got to do weekends too, you can take one day off a week. And I think I was doing like Tuesdays and then realizing, why would I take a Tuesday? Nobody else is off on a Tuesday. There's nothing to do. So then I switched it, and I started taking Fridays off. And then in Fridays in March, I was doing doubleheaders like every week. I was doing afternoon with like the Athletics, and then Friday night with the Brewers or something. Like, it was awesome. I loved spring training. So then I moved home, and I did it in Florida for the first time, and it wasn't quite the same because the weather is not as cooperative in Florida as it is in Arizona.
Still a little.
It could be anything.
Chilly,
right? Like, it could be cold. The wind is like anybody who's ever gone to Sarasota knows the wind is real. The Orioles have not dealt with it, but like in Florida, you also never know when like randomly there's just going to be a storm. Like at 5:00, there's just going to be a storm that day. So you have to deal with that. I think Stan mentioned the weather wasn't great the other night for the game they played on Wednesday. So it wasn't in Arizona. It was the same thing every day. It was perfect. It was 70, 80 degrees. You couldn't ask for anything more. You're sitting out drinking beer. Like, what a time to be alive. In Florida, the weather was the only issue. That was the only uncooperative part, is you just did not know. Like, I remember the first time we did it, like, I packed for, like, the summer. And then I got down there, and I was like, boy, really wish I had a hoodie. Really wish I hadn't packed for a beach trip.
For Arizona.
Yeah, right. Really wish I hadn't done that. But if you've never done it before, I would encourage you to go down. It's something that is, particularly when the team is good, when there's expectations, your juices are flowing. Like, this year really was a great year to do it because you ain't missing anything back here. Like, there's no basketball that matters. There's no nothing. This would have been a great year to do it.
Just Matt BK got tagged. It was
Right.
exciting day.
You still have text alerts on your phone. You can find that out.
No, you wouldn't have known if you weren't in the city. It's
Yeah,
how
I
obvious.
don't think that's the way it works, pal. I mean, you'd miss, like, for example, there's some good lacrosse, and I like lacrosse. Like, Virginia's at Towson tomorrow. That's a good one. I've got the Duke at Loyola tomorrow. Like, that's
I guess, but also, yeah, to your point, you'd be down in Florida, you'd be closer to Pensacola. You could see the Sun Belt tournament in
that's
person.
right. That's
unlike,
that's unlike the broadcasters
unlike
who
the
aren't allowed to see it in
broadcasters.
person. Anyway, it is worth doing if you've never done it before, to take a week and go down to Florida. And the other thing too is, like, some people will say, well, you chase the team around, you go wherever they're going. What's really kind of perfect if you take the week is you don't do that. Like, instead, the days where they're not at home, you use those as beach days or days to do something else in Florida.
Go to the marina.
Yeah. Now, if they happen to send, like, a great lineup to Bradenton or something like that, then maybe you decide that day, like, we could make that drive. Like, that's not so bad. We could do it. But I would say it's almost the opposite. You go down, you go to the home games, and then the days they're not at home, you experience Florida and you go to the beach. It is definitely, I would say it's worth doing at some point. Today's show is brought to you by Superbook, superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. When you do, use the code GlennClark23. When you sign up, you'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Again, superbook.com. Download the Superbook app and use that code GlennClark23 when you sign up. Griffin threw out that UFC parlay for tomorrow night. If you want to try to make some money, remind me who the three were.
It is Mateus Gamrot, Moroz, and Almabayev.
It doesn't even sound real. I'm just being honest.
Almabayev?
Like, none of it sounds real to me.
Well, you know RDA, Rafael dos Anjos. You know he's going to get beat by Gamrot.
Got it.
That's one that everyone should know.
Got it.
Everyone.
I also happen to notice today that there are some new futures available in the MLB market. The Rookie of the Year futures are up this week at Superbook. Jackson Holliday indeed is a plus 275 favorite in front of Evan Carter, who, of course, came on like wildfire last year. It's always weird to me when, like, just the Rookie of the Year concept, and you're like, right, but Evan Carter has already accomplished a lot at the major league level, but didn't have enough at-bats that it matters in the regular season. So it was weird when I looked at that list. And almost at that point, I was like, I got to be honest with you, I'm still not sure why Jackson Holliday would be favored over Evan. Like, this guy has proven himself at the major league level. This one hasn't. It's kind of crazy almost that Jackson Holliday is still the favorite over Evan Carter. But go ahead.
I got another one. The CAA tournament winner.
Yeah.
Charleston plus 185.
Oh,
Go ahead and dip your toes in that.
They are.
I would do that.
They are very, very good. There's no
Yes.
doubt about that. If you want to go really crazy on the Rookie of the Year odds, both Kobe Mayo and Heston Kjerstad are 60-1. So if you want to go wild with a Rookie of the Year future, you can maybe go that way.
Bet all the Orioles.
Superbook.com.
Win.
Download this.
Yeah, you will.
Sure. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. So we're going to have a weird day today. I got a couple things I want to cover, but we also might end up doing Tidbit early because we got to try to wrap the show up
Gotcha.
fairly on time.
First, are you going to tell us, did you lose a bet?
What?
Why are you wearing Tom Brady TB12?
It's not Tom Brady. It's
what is
Tyus Bowser.
That's Tyus Bowser?
Yeah, it's not official. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was definitely not worth stopping the show.
I mean, I was a little jarred.
Somebody when we did one of these shows like made these for Tyus, and it was
so he's a noble. It's not, but it's not.
It's not actually noble. No.
Okay.
No. It's like I'm not kidding. Like these people do we're doing like a chicken wing reviews or something, and they wanted Tyus to be a part of it. It was a whole thing. But I got a hoodie out of it, and so I'm never going to be angry about getting a hoodie out of it. All right, when we come back in, that was I wasn't
going to be able to continue.
I understand
I wasn't going to be able to
your
continue,
interest.
so
it unfortunately was just not going to be a payoff that was going to be worth it.
No, it was worth it because I wasn't going to be able to continue if I did get an explanation.
If you say so. I feel like you should have probably been able to continue. I feel like we might have been able to move
I barely made it through the first half hour.
The Steelers are meeting with a quarterback today. We'll talk about that, and we'll probably do a tidbit early. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey, it's Jeremy Kahn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Friday edition of the program. High school basketball playoffs getting into the nitty-gritty. Championship weekend coming up next weekend, and you can still play Pick'em right now. countysports.zone. It is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. I want to go see Diana Ross is coming to the Lyric. I just want to see Diana Ross, right? But I'm in this tortured place where any legitimate ticket's going to cost $200. And it's Diana Ross. She's 80 years old. You know what I mean? There's a part of me that's I just I just do it. But like, I can't really justify. This is almost the conversation I was having the other day with we were talking about with Nick Kelly. I should just do it.
You're the guy that's willing to.
I should just. But then, am I just going to buy one ticket? Like, am I just going to go? This is the other problem.
Buy me one. I'll go with you.
Right. Thank you, Griffin. It's very how thoughtful. How thoughtful.
They call me Mr. Thoughtful.
Is that what they call you? It's weird. I've never heard that before. And like I got to make a decision. If I go, I don't want to sit in like the, I don't want to sit all the way in the back.
Not a bad seat in the Lyric.
You're right. That is the night. It's not like an arena, right? Where like even if you sit all the way in the back of the Lyric, you're still in a smaller building, but like then you're all the way in the back. Like you are.
I mean, I was in the back for Stavros, the Lyric, and didn't really know. Felt like I was with my people.
I'm really torn by this. I think Rita wants to go.
Okay, well, there you go.
Right, but like I didn't talk any of this through with her.
You dodged the bullet of having to go with me.
This is the problem though. I also don't know if like she wants to go with her boy. Like we didn't really talk it through, and I'm getting antsy because
you don't like her boyfriend.
No, I love her boyfriend. He's awesome.
Oh, then what's
One
the
of my
problem?
favorite people.
All three.
But I just didn't have the conversation, and now I'm in the middle of a show. It's not the time to have this conversation.
You mean call Rita or?
Maybe. I don't know if this is compelling to anybody else. So let's not do that. I'm in a very difficult spot when it comes to like what I do. Do I just go ahead and say I bought 2 tickets? Sorry. Like I don't know.
Sorry.
I don't know what to do here. And do I buy the cheap ones or do I buy like there's like a 10-row difference. It's going to cost twice. This is like I am my father. Because my father would say, well, that's not justifiable. Like my father would say, just buy the cheap tickets. I bought for Christmas, I got my parents' tickets to see Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
Whoa.
I'm going with them.
Okay.
So it's a wild story. I bought them. That was what I was getting them. And I said to my dad, I don't know, like, where you want to sit. So, like, look at me and you can just tell me because we're past the time. Oh, I want to be surprised. Unlike my wife, who I can't. She told me she wants to go see Tim McGraw at the arena. And I'm like, okay, well, then where do you want to sit? She goes, I don't want to know what you're getting me.
I don't know. We're gonna sit in the rafters.
What the? I better not be going. I went to Shania Twain. I better have gotten out of.
Oh, Tim McGraw.
I'm going to Brooks and Dunn with her at the Merriweather this summer, so I better be out on having to go to Tim. I'm sorry, Tim McGraw is just not my thing. Very talented man, just not. He was in The Blind Side. He played Sean Toohey, who may or may not be a good guy. Don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I thought Tim McGraw had more.
I mean, some of Tim McGraw's hits are Barbecue Stand in My White Teen Shirt. She was killing me in that miniskirt. Don't get me wrong. I'd sing along to that song. But that would be like the one I'd be singing along to. The rest of the night, I'd be more like, okay, can we go? So I would like for her. That's the thing, too. She's like, well, I kind of want to go with my girlfriends. I'm like, yes! She's like, but they might want to buy tickets. And I'm like, what am I doing here?
So you got to coordinate with them or
nope.
Okay.
Your problem. I'll do something else now. I bring all of this up to say with my father, I don't have these issues. I can just say, hey, old man, I don't know where you want to sit. And I can show him the ticket map, and he can look at it, and he can say, well, I like those seats right there. Okay. And then he'll look at something like, well, tell me how much those cost. And they'll be like 10 feet away from each other. And be like, why are these $75 more than those are? That's not justifiable. And I'll say, Dad, I'm buying you the tickets. It's a Christmas present. I'm happy to buy you the tickets that you want. But he can't do it. Like, in his heart of hearts, he's like, that's not justifiable. I can't in good conscience purchase those tickets that are that much more than these tickets are when they're essentially the same seat. Say, okay, Dad.
He makes a good point.
I'll buy these other tickets then, if that's what you would prefer. And then there were 3. Like where I was going to buy the 2 tickets, there was a third, and I was just like, well, I can't just leave that one ticket sitting there. I'll go with you to see Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons. And basically, the cost of the 3 tickets was the same as it would have been for the 2 tickets that he had originally asked for. I don't know why I brought any of that up. I have no idea.
Well, you're going to Diana Ross.
Well, I'm not yet.
Well,
I haven't bought any tickets
we
yet.
know you're going.
I intend to. I have great interest in going to see Diana Ross. She's Diana Ross, man. All right. What were we doing? Oh, right. There's a quarterback.
Yes. It's all but confirmed.
What?
He's,
What do you mean?
He's a Steeler.
Well, no, it's not that, but he's going to visit the Steelers.
My theory is he's just doing Acrisure business, obviously.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, Russell Wilson, it's funny because we brought it up in Would You Rather Wednesday the other day, but Russell Wilson is visiting the Steelers today. He's apparently also visited with the Giants.
Is that why he was coming from
Newark?
I guess
Kind of weird. Don't they have a quarterback?
The Giants?
Contract?
Well, he tore his
I hear you, but like
his thingy, and he's not very good.
I agree with that part, but they haven't gotten rid of him, and he's on a real contract.
I mean, I guess the Broncos are just going to start this domino of
just go ahead and rip it
Go
up.
ahead,
pay
$50 million of dead money.
$1 bajillion in order to get rid of your quarterback. I'm in we talked a little bit through it on Would You Rather Wednesday. I'm in a weird place with Russell Wilson where a week ago I would have said, oh, I don't like that at all. Like a week ago I would have said, I think that works in Pittsburgh. I don't like it. Whereas then just seeing those Warren Sharp numbers and the fact that the Broncos like literally did not let him throw the ball downfield. Yes, he had a nice season. But is it possible that they didn't let him throw the ball downfield despite the fact that he was very capable of throwing the ball down the field? I guess. I guess that's possible. But it would seem to be that they don't believe he can make quality intermediate throws anymore. And so they managed it around that. Now, in fairness, the Steelers have been competitive without having any quality quarterback play. So even a modicum of effective underneath throwing and still an amount of elusiveness, they could probably still be competitive because, again, they've been competitive with almost no quarterback play. But I would say if that's what you're doing to address quarterback, like I have way more I know that everybody's laughing about the fact that apparently there's the trade market is not robust for Justin Fields. Like there's thought that the Bears were going to clean up in a Justin Fields trade has not proven to be the case. But I would be far more concerned about the Steelers with Justin Fields than I would be the Steelers with Russell Wilson at this point. Like between those scenarios, by all means, let it be Russell Wilson. And if we're wrong, we're wrong. But I find it hard to believe that 2 years ago he stunk, a year ago he was better, but only throwing underneath. It makes me feel like that's where we're at with Russell Wilson at this point. And I get it. He's not 40, right? Like it's not. But it was never like he had an extraordinary arm. He had a remarkably precise arm. Like that was what made Russell Wilson, obviously his elusiveness to boot, but what made him special was he could put the ball in a spot where in the corner of an end zone, we've seen, like the one to Curse, obviously everybody watched for forever. He could put the ball in a spot that was remarkable. Like his precision was always to me the most remarkable thing about Russell Wilson. If that's gone in the intermediate to extended game, then I don't really fear Russell Wilson as the Steelers quarterback.
You look at him; he's essentially been now in what his final several seasons where he wasn't pushing the ball downfield at all.
Yeah,
and whenever he did, it was to throw an interception.
Well, and somebody would say that like Ben, like the unique comparison is that Ben had the escape ability. He wasn't elusive. He was just he had this escape ability of you.
Which I guess Russ is.
It's a completely different thing. Ben's was. He just
wouldn't go down.
He would not go down. Russell Wilson's is you can still get him into space. Not that he's going to be a dynamic downfield runner at this point, but like you can still get him away and he can be difficult to get on the ground because of that. It's an interesting comparison.
So it's not like, the Steelers in the back half of Ben's career weren't necessarily threatening Super Bowls, I guess, but they were, when he was able to take care of the football, like they were.
Well, and so the Steelers have still been competitive without quality quarterback play for years. So I think bringing in Russell Wilson, they'll be plenty competitive. But I would tell you that like what I fear with the Steelers is if they brought in a dynamic quarterback, if they brought in someone who had potentially game-changing skills. And we can all – I don't know what our fear is with Justin Fields. Like, I get it. I was wrong about the step that I thought he was going to take at the beginning of last season. But did you watch it as the year went on? He showed you everything he's capable of doing. Mm-hmm. It's a very weird bit with Justin Fields. I would be...
Put him in an Arthur Smith offense. And
I would fear Justin Fields in Pittsburgh. I would fear their ability to take a step forward and then be a real threat to win the division with Justin Fields as their quarterback, because they still have TJ Watt and they still are going to run the ball and they still, like all of those things. With Russell Wilson, it's more like I think they can be a 9-10 win team again at the highest end, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's their cap. Whether they do it or not, I mean, they have good coaching. They have I think their cap is they can win 9-10 games with Russell Wilson as their quarterback. So I have no issue with Russell Wilson being their guy. It was brought up to me. It would be unique.
I think their volatility is higher with Justin Fields. Like,
I don't think so.
You think it's 9-10 is?
I think that's more the median with Justin Fields, right? Like, I think that their low end, Justin Fields as their quarterback is 7. Right? And I think their high end is 12 or 13. Like, I think there's a chance that everything works with Justin Fields as their quarterback. I cannot figure out what people don't.
He holds onto the ball really long and will take sacks.
There is that. That got better as the year went on. Like, and again, how much of that is wrong system, wrong, all of it. That elusiveness.
Yeah, well, that's why I feel like the ceiling might even be higher than 10 games. If everything does really, really click with Arthur Smith in this offense, and it takes defenses,
you think the ceiling's higher for Russell Wilson?
For Fields.
Yeah, I said I think the ceiling for Justin Fields is they could win 12 to 13 games. Okay. Like, I think they could be really good with Justin Fields in Pittsburgh. So in a way, to me, Russell Wilson being the Steelers quarterback would be a win because it means they're not committing to a truly dynamic quarterback any longer. Like, they're committing to someone who's
going to win you 10 games.
It was good. Yeah, I mean, like, and I think we're winning 10 games with Kenny Pickett / Mason Rudolph. Like, I think you're trading it out for slightly better quarterback play, but, like, slightly. I just, dynamic is what I would fear in Pittsburgh. So the idea of it being Russell Wilson at this point, again, maybe it wasn't because he wasn't capable of making the throws anymore. They just decided that's what they were going to do, and that's what they did. But combine the two examples we have, the overwhelming amount of underneath and short throws, I mean, historic, as Warren Sharp pointed out, most since the early 2000s, plus the team being willing to eat $85 million to get him out, suggests to me that their answer, like Rita said the other day, well, like, maybe he just wasn't his guy. Sean Payton took that job knowing you were there to make it work with Russell Wilson.
Or he knew, I get to kick him out after a year.
I mean, if that was if the Broncos decided it was...
It's a terrible...
I mean, it's insanity.
Yeah,
it's not impossible, but it seems far more like he took that job because Russell Wilson was there. And then within 1 year said, this is so disastrous that we will F our cap in order to get rid of the guy. Which I'm not saying that there aren't folks that have made insanely stupid personnel decisions, and maybe this will prove to be that. Even if he is bad, it's questionable as to whether or not this is a good decision. But it all makes me say to myself, those two pieces of evidence together, how little they let him throw even intermediate passes, and being willing to soak up $85 million in order to get rid of him, suggests to me he can't.
There's something seriously.
He can't do it anymore. It's just not there.
Or he's such an issue in the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, like that, and I get it. Like, he's been unlikable in some play. Like, there have been stories about him, but I mean, it's hard to imagine him being poisonous to that level.
Yeah, $85 million.
Let's do tidbit real quick, because we got a busy 11 a.m. hour coming up. So let's quickly hit on tidbit. Tidbit will be brought to you today by Goose Flights, which is available all over town. Cans available at the Green Turtle Sportsbook in Canton, Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton, that is, at Alonzo's on Cold Spring Lane, at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill, Cans and Sixes available at Guilford Hall Brewery. Also available at Costas Inn in Dundalk. Sixers and Cases at the Wine Source in Hamden. Find out more, pressboxonline.com/gooseflights. Delicious beer goes to help a great cause in providing non-emergency medical transport for those in need.
Something happened in the NBA yesterday that has only ever happened once in NBA history. There were 7 games on the slate, and each of them had were decided by 7 points or fewer. That is there have been 4,528 days in NBA history with at least 7 games on the same day on the slate. This comes from OptaStats, by the way. And it is only the second day to ever have each of those 7 games or more decided by 7 points or fewer. The only other day that this happened? 1976, December 18th, 1976.
Sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of good games.
I was never going to guess that.
Well, yeah. I should have had you guess.
Neato.
Also yesterday, Luka recorded a triple-double. Not only that, it was a 35-point triple-double. His 4th straight game, in fact, with a 35-point triple-double. And that is the longest streak in NBA history of 35-point triple-doubles. He also I want to make it this way. 35-point triple-doubles, there are 7 players to have done this double-digit times.
Doing a lot of triple-double stuff recently.
Are we?
Yeah, we have.
Well,
We've done
it's that time of year. It's triple-double time. 7 players have had double-digit games of 35-point triple-doubles.
Oscar Robertson.
Oscar Robertson is number 1 with a bullet 59.
That's why I know that we've been doing a lot of triple-double stuff, because I've said the names Oscar Robertson.
Well, they haven't been a triple-double specifically. It's been like X number of assists and X number of
Yeah, but it's basically the same.
rebounds
It's basically the same thing.
And the Big O hasn't always been an answer.
I understand that, but it's basically the same kind.
He's number 1 on this
just need to mix it up more. We
All
need
right,
to mix
I'll
it
pull
up
out
more.
I'm trying to think.
Settle down.
Some bull riding.
Settle down. You're getting defensive.
I'll do some
settle,
Iditarod.
Settle down. There's a crazy Iditarod story the other day. Somebody was penalized 2 hours or something like that because they didn't properly kill the moose or gut and clean the moose.
I don't think they were
killed
penalized enough
on the Iditarod track. Well, they had an injured dog they were trying to take care of, and so they decided we were going to go take care of the injured dog and leave the moose. It was a whole.
It's inhumane, honestly.
Yeah, you want to be inhumane to the dog?
I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
No.
Go ahead. You hate dogs. Now,
humane to
it doesn't work that way.
Oh, it doesn't work that way?
It doesn't work that way.
So if a moose and your dog is hanging off a cliff?
Yes, I'm picking my dog every time. Not close. No debate.
Well.
Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook is number 2, yes. 29 games.
Stunner.
Only 30 behind
James
Oscar
Harden.
Robertson.
We gotta go.
4th, yes.
Yeah.
24
I don't know.
games.
LeBron,
yes. 14 games.
How many am I supposed to be naming?
7 total.
I
So
got 4 of them.
Yeah, plus one that we kind of went over. But
Luka.
Yes, Luka. So 5.
Giannis.
Not Giannis.
Okay.
Only 5.
What a bum.
Yeah.
He sucks.
1 active, 1 not active.
1 active, 1 not active. Jokic.
Yes, Jokic. 15 35-point triple-doubles.
And the non-active is
13 35-point triple-doubles.
Magic.
Not Magic.
The non-active is
further back.
Elgin Baylor.
Nah, a little too far, I think.
A little too far. But what's in between those two things? Kareem.
Not Kareem.
Wilt.
All
right, very good.
13 such games.
When we come back in, Randy Mueller next?
Yes.
Randy Mueller is going to join us. Talk about the Ravens' many free agents. We continue along on a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steaks since 1965. Make your reservation now at ruthschris.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and on the cover we look at the promise of spring for the Baltimore Orioles as Todd Karpovich and others shine the light on the team's hopes to take the next step towards championship contention and what reinforcements could still be coming. Plus, Pressbox personalities offer suggestions to David Rubenstein about stewarding the franchise. Also inside, Bo Smolka on how the Ravens defense could evolve with new coordinator Zach Orr. And we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's programs across the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
By the way, Ryan Stanek was a name that I think a lot of Orioles fans were interested in for bullpen help. He is going to the Seattle Mariners, so fewer and fewer free agents still available. Obviously, the two starters that are significant, but as far as bullpen arms are concerned, Ryan Stanek comes off the market as he heads to Seattle. All right, joining us now here on GCR, of course, a friend of ours, former NFL GM, and now among other places. You read him at The Athletic, and he broke down the teams that kind of have the most at risk going into free agency, and top of the list, you find the Baltimore Ravens and their many, many free agents. He is our friend Randy Mueller, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Randy, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up with you. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Hey, my pleasure. It's a fun time of year, so always good to be on with you.
Yeah, it is a fun time of year. It's an apprehensive, not nearly as apprehensive as it was a year ago for us in Baltimore, but it's an apprehensive time of year. As you point out, and I start with the offensive line. We already know that John Simpson's gone, Kevin Zeitler's gone. When we talk about the tackles, and I still think there's a chance that at least one of them is gone, I really keep coming back to the Ronnie Stanley thing and saying, given how much dramatic turnover there's going to be on the offensive line, I know it's been disappointing that Ronnie Stanley hasn't fully stayed healthy. I know he's not quite the same guy that he was, but boy, it's an awful lot to think about the possibility of turning over, 60 to 80% of your offensive line for a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl. It feels to me like the Ronnie Stanley thing almost is a step too far. While I get the appeal and the money that could be saved, I don't know, Randy. That's an awful lot to try to do in one offseason to replace all of that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Those are legitimate thoughts that probably are in Eric DaCosta's mind 24/7. The offensive line is such a sneaky Rubik's Cube type setup in that you want to try to minimize change because that is the one group that works together every day and has to communicate and make things happen together up front. It's hard to break it up. I understand the apprehension, but at the same time, if guys aren't available, like Ronnie Stanley has not been available a lot, it's a risk-reward decision. So it's tough. I think they're going to get enough change thrown their way on this roster that they probably are better served minimizing as much of it as they can.
So I bring all of this up to say that part of the reason why I think a lot of people are wondering about how much more money the Ravens might want to save, and we know that they already have to make moves just to get under the cap before the new year begins, right. But they can do that like restructuring Lamar Jackson. But we keep hearing them tied to like top running backs in free agency. And I like these guys abundantly. Obviously, Randy, these are great players. The Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, like them all. But it's almost crazy to me that a team that's going to have this much turnover would be a team that would be investing significant money in what, for the most part, feels like is a luxury position in the league. And there's been no correlation between the teams with the best running backs are the teams that win the Super Bowls. What do you make of all of the talk about the Ravens and the deep end of the running back market?
I probably agree. I think they have bigger issues, right? And I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that they're not better served re-signing Gus Edwards, who I really like.
I don't get it.
I think he can serve a lot of the same purpose as some of these big-name guys.
Right? Boy, you and I are speaking the exact same language, Randy Mueller. I'll never understand, and like I know a lot of people bring up, well, they didn't want to give Gus Edwards the ball. But I got a bigger problem with that. Like, I don't know what to make of that. And if the answer is that you have to pay a running back a certain amount of money in order to get the ball, then you got bigger problems within the organization. I refuse to believe that that's what's going on here. Is they've got to pay somebody more to make sure they get the ball. I don't. If the difference between Gus Henry and I just made him one person. Gus Edwards and Derrick Henry was negligible. Like, if the difference was $2 million, then let's talk about it. But if Gus Edwards is $4 to $5 million a year and Derrick Henry is twice or more than that, what are we talking about? Like, how does that make any sense?
I think it only makes sense to those on the outside, and a lot of times that's fans who don't see all the options clearly. Yeah. They're a little bit blinded by how close they are to the situation. I'm with you. I think they're going to have to find a way to spend money to stop the dike from leaking in other areas. I don't know how they could then go out and throw a bunch of money at one of these top-name running backs, but I don't think they have to solve the same issue. This is going to sound stupid, but who's the young running back that got hurt at the end of last season?
Keaton Mitchell, yes.
Yeah, if they get him back in some fashion to where he was and combined with a Gus Edwards, I think they're better off, to be honest with you. I really do. They're set up for the longer haul. I would rather see them try to fortify the group up front and maybe save a player or two on defense somehow, and I think they're set to go. So I think you were right. It's a luxury to have a running back, and just because you pay one a lot doesn't mean you're upgrading. It's all about options for sure.
He is Randy Mueller. He's with us here in GCR. Boy, we really are speaking the exact same language, man. I don't get it whatsoever. The area to me is you bring up the defensive side of the ball, because I've made peace with Patrick Queen's going to be gone. The Ravens paid Roquan Smith, and there's just has to be a limit to how much you can pay an inside linebacker. I've made peace with Geno Stone being gone. I like Geno Stone. I think he's a great story, but I don't know that you can count on Geno Stone having 7 interceptions every season. I don't know that he proved that he's just a dynamic ball hawk versus there were really unique circumstances that allowed for him to put up a number that's going to allow him to make a lot of money in free agency, and I don't think that you're going to get back what your investment's going to be, and that's not because I don't like Geno Stone. But the edge rush is the part that I can't get away from. Odafe Owe has done some nice things. It's not been getting sacks, but he has provided pressure. I know that we keep saying, hey, that could turn into sacks at some point, but to count on that, I feel like you almost either have to bring back Jadeveon Clowney, acknowledging it's going to cost you more money than it did a year ago when he was, this sort of revelation, or you've got to do something to keep running this back out there and hoping for the best from guys that you pull off the scrap heap. Yes, it worked this year with Clowney and with Kyle Van Noy, but it didn't really work with Jason Pierre-Paul before that, right? Like, I don't think it's smart to just keep saying, hey, we can find somebody in July every year that can handle getting quarterbacks on the ground for us. I feel like at some point you have to pay somebody and count on it.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think they did strike lightning when they found those two guys, whether it was Van Noy or Clowney, as late in the process as they did. What it tells me, though, is that, and I don't know how the new defense will reshape at all under a new coordinator, but it tells me that they do have some parts that they can find and plug and play in the process if they continue along the same lines. This happens to be, in my opinion, in free agency, I'm talking about, a great group of edge rushers. Now, you're going to have to find somebody who doesn't require being paid $20 million a year to fit, like you mentioned, but I think those guys are findable. I think the down-the-line guys, like they found Van Noy to be, like they found Clowney to be, there are those guys that are available. You've got to identify them, and I think part of it is recruiting and showing the love to these guys early in this process, even though you're not going to pay them big money. So I think you've got to wait it out. Their fans are going to have to be patient. I think the Ravens will be patient, but it is a great group of edge-type players in which probably in my top 100, there might be 10 or 12 of those guys, which is a lot. And now they may come with some red flags due to durability issues or other issues, but that's what you're going to be stuck with.
So let me ask you about, because I'll start with Clowney, right? Like, is there danger that he's going to be paid too much because of the year he had, and that we can't assume that's definitely who he is versus just a guy that had a good year? Like, is there danger that you end up overpaying if they identify Clowney as the guy they want to bring back?
Well, I think there's always the risk of overpaying. I think in Clowney's case, when you consider the whole body of work, this was the first place and situation where it stuck, right? Other teams have thrown it up on the wall, and it just hasn't worked. So in Mike McDonald's defense, it worked. So I guess the one team you may have to consider most about being a threat for him might be Seattle, because they kind of need some of that glue, some of that same type setup when he puts in the defense in Seattle. So I do think always overpaying is an issue. It only takes one team to overpay and set the market, and it takes discipline. And the Ravens have shown unbelievable discipline in the past in team building. You've got to still do that. That's why I think you've got to not be afraid of some change, but still try to identify a down-the-line ascending type player if you can.
I was wondering how you felt about Shaq Barrett at this point. Like, I get it. This is where we fall. He's a Baltimore native, so it's kind of neat to us, and he's a guy that's had success, so we're like, what? But I don't know what happened that it dipped, and I know that he dealt with some stuff personally that was really awful. What do you feel like Shaq Barrett has to offer at this point in his career?
As a player, I consider him kind of a DPR. He is a designated pass rusher. That's what he can do. If you ask him to go backwards, or if you ask him to cover anybody or do anything else, it's probably going to be a disappointing signing. But I do think he can still rush the passer. That's the kind of guy that the Patriots have made a living for 100 years, it seems like, on these players, identifying their strengths. And then when you get them, you don't put them in a position where their weaknesses show. You're accentuating strengths. And so if you could do that with Shaq Barrett, he can still rush the passer, and he'd be worth considering.
Is a name that comes up all the time in that area is still Chase Young. Is Chase Young, is he going to have to take like a 1-year deal, prove that you're the guy that we all thought that you were supposed to be? Is there still going to be a market? Like, is the talent so real that there's still an actual, like, interested market, and he's going to get a legitimate deal in free agency?
Here's the deal, and I'll steal the term from baseball folks, the pillow deal, right? He had a pillow deal for 8 weeks in San Francisco, and it wasn't great.
Didn't go well.
He was on a 1-year deal, prove it to everybody, in a great defense with both on the other side. And we still saw somebody that wasn't engaged all the time. We still saw the negativity that was attached to him in Washington. So I don't think there's going to be a great market. Yeah, there's talent. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you're the first pick in the draft. Everybody sees talent, but you've got to do something with that. And I don't know what it would take to unlock that kind of complicated situation that where talent can't rise any further.
No, to your point, like you would think San Francisco would be the place, right? Like it's everything that you get, and they couldn't get out of him. I understand that. Randy Mueller, former NFL GM, now with the Athletic. He's with us here on GCR. Randy, among the Ravens free agents, as I go back to the offense side of the ball for a second, I think we've largely made peace that Odell Beckham is probably going to be gone. But with that said, I don't think there's $15 million waiting for Odell Beckham somewhere. What does the market actually look like for Odell Beckham? Like, how in demand is he really, remembering that everybody had the opportunity last year and there wasn't a ton of interest until the Ravens were willing to step up and overpay him to try to make Lamar Jackson happy?
Well, I think there's always going to be a market. It may not be at $15 million, but here's the defining moment with him, with a guy like Calvin Ridley or Darnell Mooney in Chicago. These are the guys in the receiver market that I think can still run. They're explosive. They can make plays and separate on their own. They get you plays and yardage above what's designed by the offensive play caller. So I think there'll always be a market. I could see a team like Kansas City jumping all over OBJ because of the fit and the need, and he may never leave there. If I was him, I would be with Patrick Mahomes, and I would take a discount, because if winning is important, that's where you're going to do it. So I do think there'll be a market for fast guys. There always is, and I still consider OBJ an explosive player.
Anything in particular for the Ravens that we haven't covered that would remain interesting for you? Like, I feel like there's always the chance that they end up in the cornerback market just because they're perpetually a team that believes you can't have enough cornerbacks, and they've kind of been proven right in that department.
Yeah, I think what they're going to have to do is kind of muddle around in the middle of the road free agents and then make their hay in the draft just because of where they are cap-wise. I think that's the biggest philosophy, and I think they'll do that. They're going to have to look for bargains, and hey, I've done it before in running teams. You have to find a younger ascending talent that just hasn't come through in another spot, maybe because of scheme, maybe it's because of injury, but those are the kind of players that they're going to have to look for, and they've done a good job in the past of identifying them, but I think that job may be bigger than ever this year in the offseason for the Ravens.
Is there anybody that, like, on paper you look at and say this is, whether, like an offensive lineman, for example, that like this might be where you can find that type of player?
Well, I definitely think this is a great year to find an interior offensive lineman.
Okay.
And it may not be the perfect size, power type guy that they've had in the past, but there are a bunch of interior offensive linemen this year that they may be able to at least stem the tide. So if, like you said, Simpson leaves or Zeitler leaves, they don't take a big step back. I think guard is a position that, if you could say plug and play, that's one where you can fill in at times.
All right, Randy Mueller, we know that your rankings are up at The Athletic. I'm looking at them right now. And then we know that you did this piece about the Ravens. What else can we plug for you, my friend?
No, that's good. I'm just one of those guys that likes watching tape, and The Athletic has given me a little bit of a forum to share some thoughts. So that's about all for me, and I'm glad to be a part of your conversation today.
Randy Mueller _ is how you follow him on Twitter. Always appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
You bet. Anytime.
It's Randy Mueller, former NFL GM, of course, the Dolphins and the New Orleans Saints, now with The Athletic. Appreciate him taking the time for us this morning. We are in strong agreement when it comes to the running back thing. I cannot fathom why you would. I don't get it. And I like those players. But to turn over this much of your offensive line to try to make it work with Derrick Henry? I don't know. I don't know about that. It just doesn't seem to make a ton of sense to me. What does make sense to me always is Ruth's Chris. I mean, very few things make more sense to me. Whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver to you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steak since 1965. You can make your reservation now at ruthschris.com, RUTHS. ruthschris.com is how you can make your reservation. Continue along here on a Friday edition of GCR. Do you want to take a break real quick, Griffin? Can we do that? Grab a break. Then when we come back in, Tim Kurkjian's going to join us next. Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Jeremy Kahn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR. Top of everything else, my computer's dying. What the hell is that all about? Sorry about that. All right, we continue along on a GCR. Just all sorts of stuff happening on a Friday edition of the program. Putting out fires, cleaning up. That's the way that it goes. All right, today's show also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. All of the updates from the high school basketball playoffs throughout the state, go to countysports.zone. Scores, updated brackets, the whole thing. Countysports.zone is where you find out all of it, and it's all brought to you by Toyota as we move towards championship weekend next weekend in College Park. As we continue now here on GCR, we're going to head back down to Florida. Stan checked in earlier. But I know our next guest got to see the Orioles this week, got to see Jackson Holliday, and he's a Hall of Famer, and he's one of our favorites, and it's always a pleasure for us to catch up with the great Tim Kurkjian right here on GCR. Tim, it's Glenn. It's always great to chat with you. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
Yeah, my pleasure, Glenn. Good talking to you.
It's always great to chat with you. So Jackson Holliday is going to be both Rookie of the Year and MVP, and probably he's going to win the next 5 MVPs, right?
That's what I've got him down for. Ichiro, Freddie Lynn, guys like that. All right, kidding aside, that kid is going to be great. I think he's going to be their everyday second baseman to start the season, even though we're not sure about that. I think that's going to happen. The fact that he comes from those bloodlines, grandfather's a coach, dad was a really good major leaguer, and all you got to do is watch him move on the field. Every movement is just so fluid, so graceful, so athletic. He's going to hit big time, and I think he can play shortstop. I think he can play second, and I think he's been around the game his entire career. I talked to him the other day, and I did not sense for 1 second that he was awed by being in a major league camp and ready to make a major league team.
Is there any danger at all that we're getting too carried away, Tim? And I say this like I'm speaking about Orioles fans, not you and I, that someone who's played so little beyond like A ball in his life, like less than a half a season beyond A ball, who's not even 21 years old, is going to come to a team where the expectations are, hey, they won 101 games last year, and I get it, it's going to be hard to replicate that. And he's going to be an immediate star. Like, that's the way that we're talking about this young man. Is there any chance we're getting carried away when we talk like that?
Well, there always is with young players, and we do this in baseball all the time, and we always have to remember this, at least in my mind, is the hardest game to play, and every level is more difficult than the one before, and he'll be skipping some levels if he goes straight to the big leagues. Don't forget, Alex Rodriguez came to the big leagues and was a massive star. He couldn't miss, and they had to send him to the minor leagues that year. And next year he came back and hit like 357. The point is, when you're this good, I think it is worth just tossing him in there and saying, let's go. Don't forget, the Yankees didn't think Derek Jeter was ready in 96, and boy, was he ready every day. The Red Sox didn't think Nomar Garciaparra was ready, and he stepped right in and had one of the great rookie seasons. So, yes, there's always a chance you get carried away in a game that it needs this much discipline and is this difficult to play. But I think the really great ones figure it out, and I think he will.
I just said it's going to be difficult for the Orioles to replicate 100 wins this year. And part of that is not having Felix Bautista. Part of it is just how difficult it is to win 100 games in baseball this year. If Jackson Holliday is the player immediately that we believe that he's capable of being, how much does it change their chances of being able to repeat as AL East champions, Tim?
Well, if he's the everyday second baseman and we think he does what we think he can do, and look, we're not talking about a 30-homer, 30-steal guy.
Right.
We're talking about somebody well below that, but somebody that can play the position every day and start to really build some things. I don't think people should get all worked up. Can they win 100 games again? The question is, can they win the division again? And the Yankees, to me, are demonstrably better than they were last year. I think Toronto's going to be better. The Rays are always good. So it's a very, very difficult division. But I think the Orioles are the best team in the division. And one reason I think that is Jackson Holliday will give them even more than what they got at second base last year.
So what stands in their way otherwise, Tim? Like what? And I keep coming back to the back end of the bullpen, and I'm not. It's not that I'm being disparaging towards Kerry Kimball. I just think that we forget how unbelievable it was from Felix Bautista a year ago. It was a historic season that he was having. It's almost incomparable with that strikeout rate to like much of anyone that we've ever seen in baseball history. What else to you maybe stands in their way of being able to win the AL East at this point?
Well, to me, that is still it, is the bullpen. Never forget, on a different level, Edwin Diaz of the Mets had a historic year 2 years ago, got hurt last year, and guys on that team will tell you our team changed when that guy got hurt because they went into every game thinking if we got a lead after 7 innings, maybe 6, certainly after 8, we're going to win. And that's how the Orioles felt last year with those 2 guys at the end, but especially Bautista coming out of the darkness in the 9th inning. That was a real part of their success last year. Now they're not going to have it. So that's the concern for me is the bullpen going to be anywhere close to as great as it was at its heyday last year? I think that's going to be hard to repeat without Felix Bautista.
The great Tim Kurkjian is with us here on GCR. What would the timeline be for you, for them? Like, do they have to monitor this for the first couple of months to figure out if they have a bullpen problem, or should they still be trying to be aggressive? And I get that there's not a whole lot left free agent-wise as far as the bullpen's concerned, although there are free agent starters, and maybe that could kick somebody back into your bullpen that could help. Versus, is there a world in which at some point there are still trades that you should be thinking about making if you're the Orioles? You should still be trying to be aggressive, going into this season where you have this opportunity.
Well, I think the Orioles still need to be aggressive, and I think they may open the season with this bullpen. But I mean, if Dylan Cease is still out there and he's still throwing well, and they can get him, especially with Kyle Bradish, we're not positive about his health. I think that's something that they have to strongly consider. And again, you got to hand it to him for going to get the best pitcher out there by a trade in Corbin Burns. If they could go get Dylan Cease also, I don't think they're going to say, all right, we're done, we're fine, because they know they're not, especially with the Bradish injury. So it'll be very, very interesting to see where they go from here.
Tim, I don't think you and I have chatted since the news of David Rubenstein, purchasing the Orioles, and we're expecting that to become official soon. Have you gotten any feel at all for what this might look like? Because I feel like in Baltimore, there's a lot of, maybe he'll just open up the books and he's in his 70s and he's not doing this because he wants to ride this out for 30 years. Like, he just might want to win immediately. I don't know if in league circles there's been conversation about this. Do you have any feel for what the appetite might be for David Rubenstein to say, we're going to do this right now and be aggressive after he takes over as controlling partner?
Well, there are certainly some Steve Cohen similarities here. Both, older guys, fan of the team, gets a chance to run a team eventually by himself type of thing. But I don't think he's going to be completely just changing the model of finances in baseball. But I do think if he's as smart as we think he is, he's going to look at Holiday, he's going to look at Henderson, he's going to look at Rutschman and say, this is the future of the team. This is 10 years of, real success if we can keep these guys for that long. So I think that's my understanding, is that they have a significantly better shot to get those guys signed long-term than they would under the previous ownership situation. And if that's indeed true, and that's my understanding, that's really good news for any Orioles.
Yeah, that's really good news, Tim. That could be game-changing. As I say that, though, I feel like the most excitement is the idea of trying to lock down, this core of guys, right? Like Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, and, of course, Jackson Holiday. But I worry that with Gunnar Henderson and Jackson Holiday being Boras clients and Adley Rutschman only being a year away from arbitration, is it even still possible for the Orioles to do that at this point? And maybe the answer being, yeah, it's possible, but it ain't going to be at like the team-friendly deals that obviously the Atlanta Braves made famous in recent seasons.
Right. I think it's possible. I don't think it's probable. Logically, you have to think maybe 2 of those guys get locked up to long-term deals. But 3, we're talking, over more than Shohei Ohtani money. Not for 1 year, but for the length of the contract.
Right.
And, but again, if you're going to win, you're going to have to do this on some level. This is why the Braves have been so good for many years and are going to be so good for many more years is they went early, locked up their guys. And again, there were some team-friendly contracts. As you said, there probably won't be with the Orioles, but you got to try because those guys might be 3 generational type players, especially given the positions they play.
And I think the interesting part to me, Tim, is like part of the conversation about these types of deals have been you do them because you can get them at team-friendly numbers. And I do wonder if at some point you have to throw the team-friendly concept out the window and just say, hey, we need to do it because it's best for business for having the fan base bought in and believing and knowing that the player is going to be around and that everything that we believe about our scouting of this guy is real. Why would we think that they're going to fall off the face of the planet in 3 years? Like, I feel like even if you can't get the deal done at the number that the Braves did with Ronald Acuna will go down as one of the all-time steals in baseball history, right? But even if you can't do that, it's still worth spending free agent type of dollars on your own guys because you're getting them at the right age when you do it. You're not signing a 30-year-old to a 7-year deal worth, some extraordinary amount of money.
Right. And the key phrase is your own guy.
Yeah.
This is how you build organizations. This is where fan bases really latch on. This is where the rest of the team latches on when they realize we're taking care of our own. And this is where free agents from other teams also recognize, look what the Orioles are doing here. They are locking up a future here with those 2 or 3 guys. That's where I want to go. So there's so many layers to this, but if you have the money and you have the right people in place, and I think the Orioles do with these 3 guys, you got to lock them up as quickly as possible. It's, of course, easier said than done.
Of course. So they've got to want to do it, the whole thing. And as we know, it's very easy with Scott Boras clients. There's no problems whatsoever whenever you try to get something done. Just another minute or two here with Tim Kurkjian from ESPN. He's with us here on GCR. Tim, one of the theories that I've been talking about, and I say this to say, I know that it's like people use the phrase good problem to have when you talk about a glut of players at a position. I don't even like that phrase because as I keep saying, it's not a problem. Like the Dodgers constantly have 30 everyday major league players on their roster. Like you can have more everyday players than you have spots to fill. It's okay to do it that way. But all of these, old guard, and I use old, it's funny because they're all 30 or younger, but like the Santanders, the Mullins, the Hayes, if you're not committed to them being here past when they come up for free agency and they're all in the next 2 years, is there any world where you think about going the other way with a trade instead of just trading prospects that, like, if Colton Cowser is demanding he be at the major league level, but you could trade an Austin Hayes in order to get yourself a bullpen arm from – is there anything to be said about exploring that side of making trades for the Orioles?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the Orioles have to look at this like we won 101 games last year, and it still wasn't enough. So what do we need to do to get even better? And if you have to take a veteran player and move him for a piece that can help even more, I mean, this is why GMs make all of their money. This is why their job is so difficult, even more difficult than it used to be, is making really tough decisions like that. Do we sign this guy long-term? Do we trade this guy? Where are we in the development? I just think the Corbin Burns trade, in a lot of ways, changed the look of the Orioles because they wouldn't have made this deal 3 years ago for a guy who's going to be a free agent after one season.
Of course not.
But they're in a different spot now, and it's a great spot, and they just don't want to lose their footing.
And I feel like the weird part about it too, and I don't like using the word incongruent. This is a 1-year thing with Corbin Burns. Like, this is all it is, and it's the only thing they did. And in that way, it's a little bit weird to me, Tim. Like, I'm still in favor of it. By all means, I'm in favor of it. But they're not saying we're all in on 1 year. It's like we're kind of in for the 1 year because we went and got the one guy. But there's been no follow-up to that for this 1 year, and that's just the part that's been a little bit weird about it to me.
Yeah, and I understand that if you get Corbin Burns, it's another sign that you're going for it So you need to see one or two more signs that you're going for it. But again, we've got almost 3 weeks left in spring training. And again, Mike Elias has proven he knows what he's doing. And now it shows he's got the guts to go make a difficult move for a guy who might be a free agent after the year. Let's just see what they do the next 3 weeks, and let's see where they are at the trade deadline.
All right, so how does this end with Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery?
Gosh, am I confused. I cannot understand how either one of those guys is. I can understand Scott Boras is the agent. That makes things more difficult. But both of these guys had great years last year, especially Snell. I did all of Montgomery's games in the postseason. He was tremendous. Yep. I don't understand why they haven't signed yet. I mean, the Angels, the Yankees, the Rangers, all these teams need another starting pitcher. And now we're down to less than 3 weeks before the season starts. Are they going to be ready for the start of the season? That's going to be hard to do unless they sign today.
Tim Kurkjian, what does your schedule look like? Are you guys? I mean, gosh, you guys are doing everything during the course of spring. When are we seeing you? Where are we hearing you? Anything like that?
Well, I just got back from Florida last night.
Okay.
So I've done Florida for a week. I did Arizona for 2 weeks. So I'm going to come home, regroup, and then see where I'm going next.
All right. Catch a breather. Tim Kurkjian, it is always a pleasure. Truly appreciate you taking a couple of minutes for us this morning. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
Okay. See you soon.
That's Tim Kurkjian with us here on GCR. He's the best. Boy, he's fired up talking about he's not throwing cold water on the, and I appreciate what he's saying. Like we're not talking about Jackson Holiday having a 30-30 season. But if Jackson Holiday is 20 to 25 home runs, quality, if he's those things, it goes a long way to the Orioles' ability. I don't remember who it was that we were talking to the other day that said, hey, the story isn't about whether or not the Orioles can win 100 games again. It's not even really about whether or not they can win the division. As we learned a year ago, winning the division
might be worthless.
Might actually be the opposite of what you want to do in some bizarro world. I'm not really ready to say that yet, but, that opinion will be had. It's about whether or not they're ready to beat the best teams in the fall. Because the season goes on every day, we get obsessed with the season. And you want to feel pretty. You want to be in first place at all times. But the story isn't really that. It's that, are they rising to be playing their best baseball in September? And we always knew that was going to be perilous a year ago because we always knew these innings limits thing were going to be a problem. We always knew these were guys that were going to be playing more baseball than they had ever played before in their lives. And they had never been through it before. We always knew. We said it. Like when we were having the Tim Kurkjians of the world on in September last year, the question was, can you really break through this first time? Because we don't see teams do that. That's not how it worked for the Astros. You don't see teams get to the playoffs the first time and just go win the World Series that do it this way. Obviously, it's different when you would argue the Rangers, the team, they went out and spent a boatload of money, and they were able to do it. But they were doing it a different way than the way that the Orioles are doing it. With these young players being your core, you don't see teams get there the first time and win. So the question is, do they have a different resolve from having gone through that a year ago, and does that lead to them being prepared to be better for it in the postseason this year? That's how this year will be measured. We'll have to learn that. But the point of that story will not be told by, do they win 100 games, or even do they win the division? It will be told by, what do they do uniquely in the postseason? They got to get there still. But the measurement isn't, are they as good wins and losses wise as they were a year ago? The measurement is, are they ready to win more games in October? And it's going to be difficult for us because we can't get that answer in April and May. And if they lose some games, it's going to be panic time. We're going to be flummoxed by it because they won all of their games, for the most part, a year ago. So we won't be able to handle that well. if that's a problem at the beginning of the year. But the real story will be October, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. All right, let's switch gears this morning here on GCR. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, we will be chatting with folks that have local connections as they prepare for the NFL draft. And first up for us in covering the NFL draft this year, it's a pleasure for us to catch up with former University of Maryland offensive lineman, a man who had to get there the hard way. He's a Maryland native. He is Corey Bullock, and he's with us now here on GCR. Corey, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you, man. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Thank you guys for having me. How are you doing today?
Everything is good, man. How about yourself? What does life look like for you? Are you like in that training mode where like you're acting almost inhuman in the way that you have to eat and the way that you have to work every day?
Oh yeah. Recently, I got down here in Ohio training with LaCharles Bentley for like the last 3 months.
Okay.
And we've been on a strict diet. So I've lost a few pounds here and there and just changing the way my body looks.
What is then the most difficult thing for you to like adjust to as you've been doing this?
Honestly, just putting the right things into my body so my body can perform at a high level.
Yeah. Is there something that you had to like give up altogether? Like even when you're playing football, you're still able to eat, but like once you're doing this because you're trying to secure your future, you had to give up, and that was particularly painful for you?
Yeah. Honestly, it's been carbs. Like getting rid of carbs out of my whole entire diet.
Yeah, that's not easy, man. That's not easy, dude. I tried to make the same commitment a few years back, and I don't eat bread, but like my wife makes pasta, and I'm just like, oh, damn it, like, damn it, I love pasta.
I feel for you, man.
It's tough, bro. It's real tough. Corey, your path to coming back home was a little bit different than what a lot of guys go through, as you had to play at a lower level, and then for a little while. Before we get to the future, walk us back through how did having to play FBS ball and having to kind of earn it the hard way maybe help prepare you more for the work that you're now going to have to do to prove it as you try to get into the NFL?
Okay, so when I got to college, I was at North Carolina Central University, and over the course of those 3 years that I was there, it taught me, like, you have to put in the work to see the results on, like, the weekends and stuff when you particularly play. And making a transition to, like, the FCS level and playing at Maryland, I always kept that underdog mentality with me. So, like, gave me a chip on my shoulder and just made me go a little bit harder because they've been here for 4 years and I've only been here 4 years. So I got a lot more to prove, per se.
Yeah, I feel like that has to benefit you as you go through this, right? Like, I mean, this – You're not projected as a first-round pick in the draft, right? Like, you're not here. I would imagine that, like, that has to help in doing the grind and the work that you're going to need to do in order to get on the radar for these NFL teams.
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's why I got to keep my faith in God and just put my head down to work and just trust the people around me.
What did it mean to you to have this experience, Corey? And I'm sure you guys would have rather, like, won the Big Ten and all of those things, but to be able to come back home, play, literally like down the street from where you grew up, and to have the experience of like winning a big bowl game, all of that. What did this year mean to you in your life?
Honestly, it just meant like, can I play on this level at a high level? Can I do it at a high level? And just going out there and do it at a high level. And then when I did it, I was like, I could play. Now I got to just do the techniques I can a little bit better and just polish my game so I could be looked at the next level.
What is okay? So let's walk me through what you're capable of doing. Right? How many different positions on the offensive line do you believe you can play at the highest level?
All three interior positions.
Yep.
This past season, I played left guard, center, and right guard for Maryland.
Yep. And all of you're equally comfortable at all three positions.
Oh, yeah. Not to mention, when I played at North Carolina Central, I played left tackle and right tackle.
Oh, I don't think I even realized that, right? How important. Yeah. So this is an interesting thing, right? I feel like that some people would say, hey, you want to show that you can be really good at one of those things. So the team looks at you and says, that guy's a really good center, for example. Has your focus been trying to deliver that one thing, or has it been, no, I need to be equally focused and spending as much time working on all of these things to prove that my value is going to be my versatility?
For me, it was kind of like understanding what all five guys had to do. So, like, just being versatile across the line of scrimmage. So, like, if somebody went down, they could put me right there. so it's like no drop off per se. So I just prided myself in playing across the board up front.
I mean, I think it's something that could benefit you in a big way. Corey, what was the best lesson that you learned during the course of this season? Like, what was the, facing versatility or facing adversity? What was the best lesson that you learned from spending a year at the University of Maryland?
The best lesson I learned was just leaning on your support system, honestly. Like, coming home, I thought it'd be a good thing, and which it was, but I had moments where I was just like, oh man, I don't know what to do. Like, can I do this? But I would like lean back and just like call my grandma every once in a while. She like helped me get through days and stuff like that. So having a great support system really helped me a lot.
I mean, that's huge, man. That really is huge, and you can't change that. What's that relationship like with your grandma? Why is she so important to you?
It's everything, because we grew up in that household. My grandma, and she just did everything for me and my siblings and my mom. So just her being there and just supporting every single one of us, it meant a lot to me. So I just want to just pay her back, and words can't explain how much she means to me.
How much is that driving you as you try to live out? I mean, obviously you're going to live out this dream for you, but how much does that also drive you to try to reach the NFL and live out that dream for her?
Everything I do is for her, because I just want to pay her back. But like words or like money doesn't like really pay her back in my eyes. It's just like I just want to say thank you in a way I can't say thank you enough.
That's cool, man. That's really, really powerful. Corey Bullock is with us here on GCR. He spent last season at the University of Maryland getting ready for the NFL draft. Corey, what would an NFL team be getting that takes a chance on Corey Bullock?
They'll be getting a hard worker, a person who comes in every day and works, and just getting the best person he could be every day.
You, as far as the off-the-field type of stuff, right? Like, what do you feel like you bring to the table as a leader, as someone that, like, your attitude away from just what you do on the field?
For off the field not issues, but off the field things I do is like I'm always getting recovery in, making sure my body's at the best possible ability to play, and just being around my family, because I'm like a family-oriented guy.
We saw that you got the opportunity to be like a captain a couple of times this season for Maryland, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, despite the fact that you hadn't been around for very long.
Yeah.
How much did that mean to you?
I meant everything to me, honestly, because coming in, I wasn't really like the guy per se, but like when I got around the teammates, and so just having that leadership role grow over my time at Maryland, it meant something to me.
All right, are you mad that they're bringing back the college football game after you leave college?
Kind of salty, but it's like I'll be playing in Madden soon, so it's like I can.
That's fair, right? That's a big deal too, man. Like, dude, can you like that? It's so funny. I've had a lot of friends that have gone through this process over the years, and like in a way, they're like, dude, that's actually more surreal than when I step on the field. It's when I see myself in a video game. Could you imagine like getting to play Madden and there's you?
Oh my God.
Dude.
I can imagine. I'm like, yo, that's me right there.
Right?
Like, yeah.
Right. That is crazy. Still, though, it would have been cool to do it in the college game first and then do it in Madden too.
Yeah, no doubt.
That would have been dope for it to work both ways. You're from PG County. Who'd you grow up rooting for, Corey?
Houston Texans fan.
Well, okay, where did that come from?
Andre Johnson.
Really?
Like that guy. Like, yeah, I just like the way he approached the game.
Wow, that's cool, man. That's a cool thing. I was worried you were gonna say the team down there, and I was gonna feel sorry for you if that was the case. That's the way that goes. That's kind of a neat thing, though. Like that's it's weird. We talk about this all the time. Nobody up here, the Ravens are getting ready to play the Texans, and like nobody up here hates the Texans. Like the Texans have always kind of been likable. Like, C.J. Stroud seems likable as hell. You bring up Andre Johnson, and Arian Foster was always likable as hell, and J.J. Watt, right? Mario Williams before that. Like, they've got an amazing logo. Like, it's one of the coolest logos in all of football. Like, there's nothing really to not like about the Texans for the most part.
Yeah.
So I can respect that in a way. What would it mean to you? Wherever it would be unbelievable. But having come back and had this experience near home, if it was, say, like the Baltimore Ravens, and you were able to stay near home again, and your grandma was going to be nearby, What would something like that mean to you?
It would be a surreal feeling. Because even though growing up I like the Houston Texans, I will always go to the Ravens game. So
really,
playing in that stadium and just having family across the Maryland area just come see me play, be like, it's one of them moments.
That'd be cool, man. That would be really, really cool. Corey Bullock, it's great. Give me one thing that we should know about you away from football, just because we never really got the chance to catch up. Like one thing about you when you're not playing football, what's life look like for you?
I'm not playing football. I just like playing with my nieces and nephews. They're twins, so I just like being around them. They bring me joy.
How old are they?
They're 4.
Oh man, that's cool. Oh, that's so cool, dude. That's so like. Do you like? Does your niece make you do like the girly stuff? Like, are you having to play with dolls and stuff like that?
Yeah, I don't paint my nails though, but I do everything else.
Oh man, that scene, like somebody walking in on a dude your size down on the ground playing like holding up a teacup. Oh, that's awesome, man. Good for you.
I just like seeing her smile. Both of them actually.
That's
them
great.
Smile.
That's good stuff, Corey. Good deal. Hey, Corey, where can Maryland fans be giving you a follow on social media as you go through this process?
Okay, on Instagram, 51CB, and on Twitter, it's Run It Up Corey.
Run It Up Corey. Give him a follow there. Corey, it was great to get to watch you play this season, man, and awesome the way that you guys finished it and the celebration you got to have. Really appreciate you taking the time for us, and we're going to be monitoring and following, and we're going to root like hell for the best for this process to work out the way that you want it to work out. And when it does, we're going to be back in touch with you. All right.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That's Corey Bullock, University of Maryland offensive lineman, getting ready for the NFL draft. Versatility. You know, we talk about how obviously the Patrick McCary thing has benefited the Ravens so significantly. You know, versatility could be key for Corey Bullock as he makes the jump to the next level. That's Gary Stein. I know him. He's the voice of UMBC. I'm familiar with his work. Studio 83. I used to do my show from his office. We launched Glenn Clark Radio in 2014 from Gary Stein's office. Straight shoot.
Really?
Straight shoot. That's where it all began. All began in the offices of Gary's. God, it's going to be 10 years. Holy crap, it's going to be 10 years this fall. Oh, my God. I hadn't thought about that at all. That's staggering. And look at all the things we've accomplished.
So many.
Some days the show works. Some days we get on time. Some days a good day today. I enjoyed today. All right. We got to get a tubular. We did tidbits. We don't have to do that again. What do we need? What do we still need to do? We didn't remind everybody about Atman's Deli. We could talk about Atman's Deli until the end of time. Although I would get yelled at. We're filming something today. That's why Gary Stein is here. We're filming something that's going to involve me embarrassing myself because that's what I sign up to do. You'll be seeing it. I promise you'll be seeing it. You should be seeing the new Atman's Deli. If you're craving that classic New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and they've got something different. They've got a bar. Atman's Harbor Point. Go to atmansdeli.com to find daily specials. Tubular is brought to you by the print issue of Pressbox, which is still available at your neighborhood Royal Farms and the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox. Read it all at pressboxonline.com. The promise of spring as we dive more in on the 2024 Baltimore Orioles. Go get that today. Here is what's coming up totally tubular-wise. Maryland women did end up, it was shaky early yesterday.
Figured it out.
They were down big early. Dude, what was the game that was 39-2 yesterday?
That was
everybody was talking
it
about?
was 58-9 at halftime.
What
Pepperdine and Pacific.
What is the deal there?
I guess Pacific is I don't know what I don't know what Pacific. Pacific
That's
did not win
insane.
I want to say they might have had like 1 or 2 D1 wins all year.
Wow.
Pacific was not.
What would the final end up being?
102-43. I think that might actually be right on the. I think that was exactly what it was.
Just eked it out.
Very,
huh?
yeah.
Just managed to eke that.
They were
out.
their Twitter account was having a lot of fun. They were like, "Is this what Gonzaga feels like every night?"
That's good. I saw someone. I don't remember who it was. Maybe Paul Pabst from the Dan Patrick Show tweeted Like, imagine the halftime interview. So, Coach, what kind of adjustments do you think you can make? Like, what do you do?
So someone was like, Pacific played more players. They played 12 different players in the first half than the points they scored.
That's rough.
Yeah,
that's rough.
It's
I think we've all been there. Like,
Yeah,
that do broadcasting, but like you get a game that's just a blowout, and you're like, what in the world are you going to do?
It was like 26-0 at one point. Like it was,
Anyway, Big Ten women's tournament continues today. Maryland in action at 12:30 against Ohio State. Will not be easy. If they want to try to find their way into the tournament, they're going to have to get the job done. Also, Iowa tonight at 6:30 against Penn State if you just want to watch Caitlin Clark, and who could blame you? AmericaEast.tv for Richmond UMBC lacrosse at 4 o'clock today. Gary Stein's probably doing that one. ESPN Plus, Maryland Charlotte baseball at 3. Orioles are on the radio tonight on WBAL. Tigers and the Orioles. Casey Mize and Grayson Rodriguez, the pitching matchup there. Trying to see if that line is up yet on Superbook for tonight, and it is. Orioles minus 175 favorites there. The total is 9.5. Right, as they should be. 9.5 is the total. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up at Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Apparently, the Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou, whatever you want to call it, it's on DAZN, but it's a pay-per-view on DAZN.
Yes.
And isn't DAZN itself pay-per-view?
$40.
Like, don't you have to pay to have DAZN?
I feel like you just have to sign up, right?
Oh, okay. If you say so. I don't know. I thought you had to pay for it to begin with, and then you have to which, in fairness, is the ESPN Plus thing, like with the UFC.
Yeah.
I believe that the actual that doesn't go on until a little bit after 6. It's like a day long.
Yeah, they started. I think they started maybe 45 minutes ago. Like the undercard started.
But
I
believe that around 6 o'clock is when they expect the fight.
Zhang and Joe Park around 5.
Okay, very good. Tomorrow, Towson takes on TBD in the CAA tournament.
That's right. Yes.
I don't like that's the thing. TBD's had their number over the years. So 2:30 tomorrow on Flow Hoops as they get the CAA tournament underway. Maryland lacrosse hosts Brown tomorrow at noon on Big Ten Network Plus, ESPN Plus. The America East tournament, UMBC's at Lowell at 3 o'clock. Also lacrosse tomorrow on ESPN Plus. Duke Loyola at 3:30. Fairfield Mount St. Mary's. That's actually basketball at 4. Syracuse Hopkins lacrosse from Charlotte at 6:30.
Good for them.
Some sort of event. Lacrosse TV is where you find Virginia Towson. That one's worth getting out to at noon over at United Stadium. Go MustangSports.tv tomorrow night for Dickinson Stevenson at 7. Orioles are on the radio also tomorrow, 98 Rock and BAL for their game against the Braves. They haven't announced their pitcher, Chris Sale's going for Atlanta. You can also watch it if you have an MLB TV subscription. Everything else tomorrow. Oh, the UFC pay-per-view, of course. Griffin, we want you to remind you, Sean O'Malley, Cheeto Vera at 10 o'clock. And then on Sunday, Maryland Hoops against Penn State at 7:30. Big Ten Network Plus for Maryland women's lacrosse on Sunday at 11 a.m. against James Madison. Maryland baseball is not playing on Saturday. It's weird. I guess they're expecting rain in Charlotte, so they're doing a doubleheader on Sunday instead, starting at noon on ESPN Plus. Mount St. Mary's lacrosse at Manhattan at noon on Sunday. And the Women's Gold Cup final, the U.S. and Brazil, Sunday night, 8:15 on Paramount Plus. Orioles play 2 games on Sunday. The game in Sarasota is on the radio against the Blue Jays. The game on the road against the Blue Jays, you have to be MLB TV subscriber to watch it on Sunday.
But they had off yesterday, so.
That's right. So that makes sense.
I did see Dean Kramer, I think, got to go. They went water tubing.
Good for Dean Kramer.
Yeah,
happy
and
for
a few
him.
other guys. I forget who. But
anything non-sports wise this weekend?
Not really. Josh Brolin is hosting SNL with Ariana Grande, and then the Oscars are going to be Sunday nights, starting at 7 p.m. The Oscars on Sunday nights. Those are really those are the big highlights. 2 more episodes of The Dynasty on Apple TV Plus. There is a movie on the Roku channel. It is directed by Chelsea Peretti. It's called First Time Female Director, and Chelsea Peretti is directing
Chelsea Peretti from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes, and she's directing a play in the movie. And there's like a bunch of other quick cameos, like Blake Anderson, Amy Poehler, Nick Kroll's in it. There's a bunch of different people in it.
All right.
Yes, and then Damsel on Netflix. This is Millie Bobby Brown fighting a dragon.
Okay, sure.
Damsel.
Sure. Very good. You can get everything else at GlennClarkRadio.com. Thanks today to Stan the Fan for checking in. Thanks also to Tim Kurkjian, Randy Mueller, and Corey Bullock. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Jason Stark's joining us on Monday?
Yes, that's
Excellent.
the plan.
Looking forward to that. Love Jason Stark. And I know he was in Sarasota, saw the Orioles, wrote about Jackson Holiday. Who would think? Tomorrow, the Bat Around, 10 a.m. with Paul and Ryan. Rita and I will be with you Sunday from 1 to 4 on 105.7 The Fan, or another time if Drew. You know what? I did get a text. I probably should have looked at that.
So it might be.
Yep, we're probably going to be 12 to 4.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
12 to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got that, right?
Might need some help.
Can Glenn not handle it?
Might need some help there. 12 to 4, yay, on Sunday. All right.
Why don't you invite Drew in, and then it'll be Glenn Clark and Glenn Rita and Drew again.
I would rather never do that.
Glenn Clark and friends.
I think I'll be all right. Glenn Clark and friends. That was great. I knew he was going to lose his mind about that. All right. Yeah, we'll do that on Sunday. All right. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Ruth's Chris, Live Casino and Hotel, Atman's Deli, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Superbook Sports, Glory Days Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go all of the local teams. Duke sucks.